Episode 201 of the HHH Racing Podcast is proudly sponsored by the Adelphi Racing Club. The Adelphi Racing Club is a partnership in every sense of the word, not a syndicate, and our members are treated like partners, not investors. If you're interested in joining a group of like-minded individuals, like myself, and having a truly interactive ownership experience, we are the right fit for you. Adelphi offers a variety of partnership options, including yearlings, two-year-olds in training, private purchases, and claiming options. Join the club today and get in contact through email with the racing manager, Matt Cuter, at matt@adelphiracing.com. Again, matt@adelphiracing.com. This podcast is also sponsored by Hawthorne Racecourse. Hawthorne Racecourse, Chicago's hometown track. And by the fantastic fantasy horse racing game, Stable Duel.
You've picked your power forward. Your all-star receiver keeps scoring. Now it's time to race across the finish line and put even more points on the board. Download the Stable Duel app and get in on the thrill of horse racing. Choose your horses, your jockeys, your track, and win thousands in daily games competing against other players. Move up the annual leaderboard and bring home real cash prizes daily. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
And now let's start episode 201 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good evening and welcome to episode 201 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for joining us. Can you feel the excitement? Can you feel the energy? Can you feel the vibes? 48 hours, folks. Actually, 72 hours. It feels like 48. I'm so excited. But we have less than 3 days away from Breeders' Cup 2022. And tonight, we are here to talk about Breeders' Cup Friday. We're here to talk about the Friday 5 juvenile races, the stars of tomorrow. It's going to be an unbelievable day of racing with these babies going at it on the turf, on dirt, going short, going long. And we have an expert panel here to talk about the races with you. Thanks for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. We have exploded with subscribers, people watching. We cannot thank all of you enough. I've been looking through our Breeders' Cup shows. Almost every one has more than 2,000 views. Fantastic. We just increasing. We really appreciate your viewership. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at hkravitz, and at the bottom of the screen on the scroll, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. After you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you know when new content will arise on the show. And then smash that like button. We'd really appreciate if you hit the like button. That indicates to YouTube this is a great show and people will be suggested to watch it. Also, if we don't talk about your comments or if you have any general comments below the video player, after the show or the next few days, feel free to comment anything you like, dislike about the show, questions you have about the Breeders' Cup that we don't have a chance to answer. Please do that. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Anchor as well. We have a quick promo I want to talk about, Power Picks. We've had a lot of new subscribers. Thank you very much to the Power Picks. Folks, I've seen people charge for the Breeders' Cup picks $25, $50, $100. I've talked about all week. We here at the HHH Racing Podcast, we are not going to upcharge people for the Breeders' Cup. I don't want to do that to you folks. We care about you. We're not going to do that. Our Power Picks are $16 for the entire month, and you receive them every Saturday. But because the Breeders' Cup's going on this weekend, the Power Picks are going to be sent out Thursday. So Thursday, like noon. If you want to get the Power Picks specifically for the Breeders' Cup, you really need to sign up like ASAP in the next 24 hours. And it's only $4. because it's $4 a weekend and we're not going to upcharge. And you're going to get spot plays, price plays, ABC grids, comments from every single host we have here on this show. You really should look into the Power Picks. Look below the video player. You can see it there. You sign up through Patreon. It's very simple. Also, we have a fantastic website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Highly recommend you take a look at our fantastic website. My wonderful co-host Pete Visco is mainly responsible for putting that together. We really appreciate all of his efforts with the fantastic website. All right, I think that takes care of everything. We have a lot of people watching, a ton of people watching. If you're watching right now and you have a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, a family member, someone that's interested in playing the Breeders' Cup this weekend, gather them around. You can leave the TV on if you want. I don't care. But turn the sound off. Get your laptop. Get your iPad. If you're watching this on Twitter, I highly recommend you switch over to YouTube. Go to YouTube in the search bar, HHH Racing Podcast, because then in our live chat, you can type in comments in the live chat. Get your paper out, get your pen and pencil out, and be ready because we're going to give you some awesome information right now that's going to help you crush Friday Breeders' Cup. Last thing, we also have a show. We have 2 other shows coming up for the Breeders' Cup. We're not done yet, folks. We're not done. Tomorrow night, Chad Schexnader of the Fairgrounds Racing Podcast, an excellent handicapper. He's been on the show before. We'll be here, same time, same bat station, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's almost going to be a 2-hour extravaganza in detail going through the Saturday Championship Breeders' Cup card. And then Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going an hour earlier so we don't bump into football. 7 p.m. Eastern, the Breeders' Cup recap and reaction show of everything that happened this weekend coming up here at the Breeders' Cup. We've got it covered like a glove. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on my fantastic co-hosts first. From the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran, and from the East Coast of Maryland, Pete Visco. Pete, how was trick-or-treating?
It was awesome. We were the last ones on the street. My son Jackson, he was ready. He's like, we're staying out and in the rain. We stayed out until the street was empty.
Wow, got some good candy.
Too much candy. Yeah.
It wasn't really Jackson's idea. It was mainly your idea.
Hey, I do like candy.
Who doesn't like candy?
Yeah.
Speaking of candy, Paul, we had some handicapping candy last night as we talked about post positions, some fascinating post positions. Paul, now we're going to talk about the babies. A very difficult Friday card, I thought, with these 5 races. Maybe less one race.
Yes, I think you could probably narrow it down a little bit in the finale. But I will still be using a second day there. We'll talk about it when we get there. But,
absolutely. I saw your picks for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, Howard. I think I didn't mean the finale. I should have said the juvenile. I keep thinking that's the finale. I think the finale, which is the Juvenile Turf, is the 2 races that I think are really wide open the most. The Juvenile Turf and the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Those are the ones that I am the deepest. So
yeah,
we will see.
We'll see.
I'm going to play them though.
Before we bring on our great guests, let's get to some great comments. We got Nick Feldman. Nick, thanks for joining the show.
Let's go, Nick.
He is here. He's back from a 2-week vacation. We've got C Money is here. I'm looking. We got Darren Sipes having big time trouble narrowing down the winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. He needs help. I bet our wonderful guest handicapper is going to have some replays to talk about there. Roshan, he's counting down the hours. Thank you, Roshan. 62 hours. He's got it down to the exact number.
Love it.
We got a bunch of new people here. Holy cow! I mean, we've got a good flop. Thanks for joining the show. We haven't seen your name. We got David Barista. We got High Risk. Get the popcorn ready. We have also Noah Megner watching from the library at the University of Kentucky. Noah, thanks for joining the show, man. Really appreciate it. We love the younger viewers. We got plenty of college students that watch the show. Noah, get some friends together. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. No, we're really trying to grow our younger audience. So, Noah, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate it. And we got Matthew Chimera, who is all in. All right, guys, let's bring on our wonderful guest. Now, this guy's been on here before. This is one of the sharpest minds out there in the game. I'm not going to bring on some kind of schlub for the Breeders' Cup. This guy is an expert with replays, just like Pete and I, loves watching replays. He is now currently working for InTheMoneyMedia, a fantastic organization that I've been involved with. Peter, Thomas Fortental, and the guys. Let's bring him on to help us with the Friday Breeders' Cup card, Mr. Justin Christein. Justin, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Pete, Paul, Howard. I'm anxious to hear your thoughts as well, because I'm open to some ideas in some of these races. I mean, I have some leans and definitely a strong feel, two strong feels, but I'm interested to hear what your minds and the listeners and viewers have to say as well. So I'm excited. Let's get rolling.
Yeah, well, we're all interested to hear what you have to say, and we're going to be watching a lot of replays. Justin's an expert in watching replays, formerly of Trip No Pros, and so he does great work now within the Money Media. Justin, let's just get this out of the way before we get into our handicap. Real quick, 30 seconds or less. Tell people where they can find you on Twitter, what you do for In the Money Media now. Just very quickly, where people can find out your information.
Sure, I'm on Twitter at TeacherJJC, and I do the Santa Anita Notebook every day, the Santa Anita Autumn Meet. So I'll recap the day before, looking at track bias, hot and cold trainers, hot and cold jockeys, and review the races for some value that I can find there, and put that up. And sometimes I'll have a trip advisor, which is a horse that I think had a subtly bad trip, or a trip that's not in the comment line, because that's where you get the value. And then I will always recap the day before, and so In the Money Media Plus subscribers can get that every day of the Santa Anita Autumn Meet, and hopefully Santa Anita going forward into the winter meet as well, starting December 26th.
Terrific. In the Money Media does a great job. Ralph Conte says Justin trying to grow his hair like JK.
Oh, man.
Justin, you got a little ways to go for that. Although JK has slimmed down the throw a little bit, I would say. Uh-oh, Paul. What happened there? We lost your camera there, Paul. There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, not quite at JK level yet. Let's jump into the car, guys. We got a lot to talk about. I don't want to waste any time. The first thing, Justin, before we talk about the races, actually, I want to say one thing first. The Breeders' Cup races are races 6 through 10. So if you're interested in playing the late pick 5, and we're going to talk about the late pick 5, it's races 6 through 10. They do have 5 other races before the Breeders' Cup. We are not going to talk about those 5 races because we want to deep dive in the Breeders' Cup. But everyone, just to let you know, I do like a horse in race 5, which starts the pick 6. And it's it used to be the marathon, Breeders' Cup marathon race. I like number 9, Win the Day at 6-1. So if you want to, get a little juicy taste before the actual Breeders' Cup races start, Rispoli is riding. It's 1 mile and 5/8 on the dirt. Win the Day is an improving 3-year-old. He's 6-1. He's the 9 horse. Just throwing that as Justin and Paul are scrambling, saying, "Who? I thought we weren't talking about those."
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about those races, but I just want to throw a little nugget out there, Justin, to some people. I'm fascinated with that source.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because I was all over him in his last race at 10-1. I think the longer he can run all day. I mean, if they carded at 2.5 miles, he'd fit the bill. So I'm with you on that, Howard. I actually think that horse has a big chance in the 5th.
And he was like he's in between horses. He was like covered up. He couldn't find room to late. It was a glacial pace, whatever. Anyway, we'll get into the Breeders' Cup, but number 9, Win the Day in race 5. Justin, tell everyone here about the pick 5 sequence in general, these Breeders' Cup races. Which race, and we're going to talk about our pick 5s at the end of the show, but just to give an overall view, how difficult are these races Friday? Which one? Obviously, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile is going to be the quote unquote easiest race. What's your general thought about the Friday Breeders' Cup races?
Yeah, I think the 6th, the first leg of the pick 5, is really hard. You have some fillies taking on boys for the first time. You have the Euros, who typically have not performed well in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. I think that race is very hard. The other race that I think is very hard is the 8th, which is the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Usually I zero in on Chad Brown. I mean, he's owned this race, but I don't think that he has free look in here, and I don't not a big fan of that horse. So, if it's not the Chad Brown show in the Juvenile Fillies Turf, then I think there are quite a few horses that can win that. So, to me, those are the two most wide open legs. And then, there are 2 legs that I can narrow it down to a couple, and then the 9th. We'll talk about the 9th,
well,
but are you all in on Cave Rock, or do you think there's another alternative? I guess that is a big part of the pick 5.
Justin, I know a guy who might be a little bit has an alternative. Wait a minute, hold on. There, somewhere around there. Quick question from Nolan Rogers for you, Justin. You'll see a lot of comments at the bottom of the screen. Do you trip out Euro races?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Nolan, I'm sorry, it's Nolan. Excuse me, probably.
Yeah, the first thing I do when the advance comes out is that I go through every single Euro on both days before I do any work on any of the stateside horses. So yeah, I've done all the trips on all the Euros.
Perfect. I've done more deep diving on the Euros this year than any other year. And just to throw out to everyone, I believe it's episode, is it 198, guys? I don't know if Pete or Paul, one of you guys can look real quick. But for those of you that are interested in the Euros, and there are a lot of Euros on Friday, every year, last 2 years of the existence of the show, we have a great podcast with Davey Lane, Justin, who's an excellent handicapper from the UK. I don't know if you checked our show out this year. We went on for about an hour and 40 minutes showing replays, and he's got a lot of insight that we don't have here because he lives in Liverpool, England. He knows some of the trainers and like the ins and outs and behind the scenes stories. Who's just going over for what he calls a jolly, which is just for fun, not really a serious entrant, and who's really well meant. Was it 198, Pete and Paul?
197. 197.
Well, sorry, 197. Check out episode 197, everyone out there, for our Euro take. All right, here we go, guys. Let's get on to the Breeders' Cup races. So we're going to start. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. We're going to start with race 6. The Breeders' Cup races start at approximately 3 o'clock Eastern, and the weather is going to be outstanding. We can talk about that. There'll be no issues whatsoever. Race 6, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. These are all grade 1s, of course. This is $1 million. It's for 2-year-olds. You're going to see big fields everywhere. Let me take the banner off, guys. We don't need that anymore. Hold on one second there. There we go. All right. 2-year-olds. You see, it's a big field. As I scroll down here, there's 12 in the main body. There are some also eligibles. I highly doubt there's going to be a lot of scratches, guys, because the weather is great, and these are the biggest races of the year. Let me go ahead and also, for those of you, whether you're familiar with the show or not, we are going to be showing our picks on the bottom of the screen. You're going to see scrolls. So right now, there you go. Howard, Justin, Pete, and Paul. This is the first time that everyone except me has actually seen each other's picks. And so I'm sure everyone's going to be very interested in what we see at the bottom. There's a little bit of pressure on Love Reigns because 3 of us are picking Love Reigns, the number 2 on top. But no, not Justin. Justin is going with a long shot. Frankie Dettori, 15-1 for Richard Hannon, Persian Force. Justin, you're first up. Hit it.
Yeah, I love the way this horse traveled in his last race in the Middle Park Stakes at Newmarket. I love the way he got out of the gate, and he was quick on his feet from the get-go. And, he's going to need to be that in order to keep up with the U.S. sprinters. Typically that's the problem that these Euros have, is they get outbroken and they can't keep up early. This horse, I think, is different. I think that from what I've seen from the 3 replays that I've watched, this horse is good out of the gate. He's got Frankie Dettori. The 6 post, I think, is ideal. And I love the way that he looked. He's built like a stocky sprinter, and you can't argue the company that he kept in his last, finishing third to Blackbeard in the Antarctic. I'm not an expert on European form, but I do know those two horses are very good.
Yeah.
And I actually think the cut back to 5.5 is not a bad thing based on the way this horse is built. And so he's got a lot going for him, the least of which is the 15-1 morning line. And so, if I can get anything above 10-1, I'm chomping at the bit to bet this horse, to bet Persian Force in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And then
Justin,
I'll just
Justin, before we go to your other choices, Paul, obviously, Paul, you like Persian Force also. Paul, are you concerned that he might get caught up in a speed duel with all the speed on the outside? And do you have any guess? Is the way he runs, either one of you, handling a turn for the first time? Also, obviously, that's a concern for all the Euros. Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be obviously on the lead or near the lead, but I kind of agree with Justin. It looks like he has just enough speed to not get too far behind, because as Justin points out, that is a danger you're concerned with the Euros in this 5.5 furlong race, although better than 5 furlongs. But the one thing Davey Lane said, that he said that Richard Hannon doesn't ship particularly well. That was one of the notes I took. It looks like it formulated as a very limited sample of 0 for 4. So for whatever that's worth, but you get the Tory. Davey did like this horse, despite the comment on Hannon. We talked last night, Howard. Blackbeard would have taken quite a bit of money if not been a favorite, and this horse was right there with him the last 2 races. So I almost picked him on top.
Wow.
I was very close. I picked him second. So I am.
Okay.
I think I picked him second. Yeah, I did.
You did.
He and I have the same trifecta here. Bank it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Justin, you've got the 3, Private Creed. I took a real good look at this horse. I'll just give my 2 cents real quick on this horse, Justin.
Yeah.
I love picking closers in a race with a lot of speed. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, people, just listen to tomorrow, because I have an extremely strong opinion on a Saturday race with a similar profile. But Justin, this horse just looks slow to me. I know he's a closer, but I don't know if he classes up.
Yeah. Just looking at buyers, I think that's a legitimate opposing viewpoint. I will say that those Kentucky Downs races are I don't put any stock in the buyers at all in those races. I think the timing is goofy. I think the course is goofy. So I don't pay attention to those speed figures at all. And then the Indian Summer, I love the way that he finished in that race. And I think that from the 3 hole, he's going to sit mid pack. And, if a speed duel does ensue, like I think it might, he's the one closer that I want. He's the horse that I think has the best kick, and he likes Keeneland, which is, in my mind, it can't be overstated enough, because that Keeneland course, some horses do not like it. It's a sand-based course, and it plays differently than some of the other courses in the States, and so. A horse that has a successful run over, I'm giving extra points to.
Okay, fair enough. Pete, let's go to you. You've got the 2. Paul's got the 2. Did we talk, guys, before the show? I don't. We're all going Love Reigns. It's hard not to go with Wesley Ward and Irad. Pete, this horse last time obviously it was a much easier race, but did come a little bit off the pace. I don't think this horse has to be on the lead necessarily, and I love the post for this horse too.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And Wesley Ward and Irad, haven't they won this race 3 years in a row? So, you're in pretty capable hands with those two. And this horse in the U.S., the 2 races have been phenomenal. You can't ask for anything better. Has the win over Keeneland, which I agree with Justin. It's always nice to see. The buyers are strong. The time form ratings are strong. And I agree with you too. I don't think this one needs to get caught up in whatever the hot pace turns out to be, because I do think I agree with everyone else. I think there is going to be a hot pace. So I don't think this one needs to be in that and should be able to sit right behind from that 2-hole.
And you've got Private Creed, who we already talked about, second Pete, and then you've got the 9, Sharp as Attack. Now, this horse I wasn't sure was going to get in the race. Now that he's in the race, this is your typical 1-number horse, right? I mean, wow, that race at Monmouth was very impressive. But he got the lead. Monmouth's turf course is very speedy. Doug O'Neill knows how to win Breeders' Cups. I wouldn't overlook this horse because he breaks inside of the speed, Pete, but in theory, he might be able to he won't be as wide as the others, right?
Yeah, I think that could be the case. Like he could potentially clear and then maybe get cleared and have a spot, which would be ideal because he is super fast out of the gate. And the one thing I liked about him was those first 2 races were super impressive. Then they stretch him out to 6.5. And when you watch that, he's going against Private Creed. He was a huge favorite. And he ran a beautiful race. I think the extra just furlong and change just got to him in the end. Now he's cutting back a little bit, which I think is probably his preferred distance. And I think hopefully, because I like the fact that in that last race, he did sit off and he did make a move off the pace. You know, it was only from second, but still, I like that he didn't need the lead. And I just wanted to have at least one of the speed. And I think he could be the most versatile of the speed horses, where he doesn't have to be on the lead and maybe doesn't have to hook up in some sort of suicidal duel. And if that happens at a 15-1 shot, I'll take that on my ticket. And I think is a pretty wide open race otherwise.
All right. Well, we're going to finish up our conversation of this race. I'm going to talk about a horse I like. And then Paul, we'll get to your 2 others that we haven't, your other horse that we haven't mentioned yet. Guys, I have done very deep dive in the Euros. Now, listen, it's all a bit of a guesswork, right? There's no question about it. You're guessing. Dramatized is interesting. This is a filly, which I have no concerns about because they do this in Europe all the time. What really impresses, there's 2 things I like about this horse. When she beat Love Reigns at Ascot, I thought that was very impressive. They were all straightaways, but she blew by Love Reigns. I mean, that wasn't even close. Now, I know that was June. This is November now, so it's hard to say. She's been given some time off. She raced just fine last time. She was a big favorite. She was disappointed. I think Ryan Moore is going to be just off the pace. I think he's going to get a fantastic trip from the 4-hole. If she can fire, and she's been looking very good. Davy Lane thinks this horse is interesting. I've heard some things. I know that she hasn't taken a lot of money in Europe probably. And Pete, you're going to be our Euro sort of odds guy tonight. So I don't know if you have that up or not. I know she's probably fairly high odds. I don't care. I'm looking for a bit of a closer, and I don't love the American closers. No disrespect to the Private Creed gang. I think Dramatized is fascinating underneath. I threw Speedboat Beach in there. I don't love that horse, but I'm not going to let Baffert beat me in the first race of the day, even if it's a turf race, and he is awfully quick. Before we move on, William Buick on the 5, Paul. Any thoughts on this horse you have third? And then also, Just, I'd like to hear your opinion on the 4 and tell me I'm crazy or not. That's absolutely fine. Paul?
Yeah, I think the 5 is a use. I think the Nick has got the morning line just about right. You know, it's gonna he's gonna take money. It's a Godolphin trained by Appleby, ridden by Buick. But you know, the one horse I want to mention, Howard, that we haven't mentioned yet, who is going to take money, who got the worst of it at the post draw, was the 12, the Platinum
Yeah,
Queen.
absolutely.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned. Not only is she, and there are 5 fillies in this race, by the way, out of 12.
Yeah.
Not only is she on the far outside, but she does have a lot of speed just inside her. Having said that, you know, if we're looking at just ability, you know, she is a factor in this race. You know, I had her as an A, and she has been downgraded to a B as of this afternoon, but they don't run the race until 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, so I'm going to reserve the right to make a change there. But she's, you know, again, I just think the post is a really tough thing for her.
Yeah, none of us have the Platinum Queen in the money, which is absolutely crazy, especially considering her last race. Justin, I've got all the Euros as B horses other than Dramatized because I think this is a pretty talented group. I like the fact, I think these horses are learning how to run in the States. We saw Glass Slippers win a sprint race. I think these horses are, these trainers are, I'm not saying they gear up the 2-year-olds over in Europe, but my gut feeling and the vibe I get is that they are running a little bit faster than they used to, and the 2-year-old races matter a little more because in the States we have more 2-year-old turf races. Real quick, your impressions on Mischief, Magic, Dramatized, and the Platinum Queen, Justin.
Yeah, I'm with you on Dramatized. That was the first Euro that I gravitated towards. I thought, and it could be wrong, I'm not an expert on the ground over there, but I thought the outer rail that in her last race at the Lowther, the grade 2, I didn't think it was that great. I think I thought it appeared to be a little slower, and I liked her race there. So she's definitely a use for me. Just a couple other notes real quick. Speedboat Beach, that last race, he was getting tired on the line, and he barely had a gallop out. And, he's got to get another half furlong on a slower turf course versus other speed. And I'll use him defensively, but I think there are enough angles to play against him. And then the Platinum Queen, she was a 2-year-old that beat Olders, but there's a huge weight break for 2-year-olds. They get like 25 pounds, 20 to 25 pounds or something, right? And so, there's something to be said. 2-year-olds have beaten older horses in Europe. It doesn't happen that often, but it has happened, and probably mainly because of the weight break. She's talented, but the 12 horse being the favorite with and knowing the weight break that she got in the last, I'm against her.
The last thing I want to say, and someone asked this on the chat, the time form ratings. Then let me go full screen here. Again, for people who are not familiar, you see these time form ratings here in general, guys, and we've talked about that on the show. So this for all the viewers and listeners watching. In general, you can subtract about 15 to 20 points off of these time form ratings compared to Beyer. Not everyone likes Beyers, but the Beyers are on here as well for the Americans. So if you subtract 15 to 20 off the Platinum Queen, just in general, guys, this horse is running, low 80s. That does not lay over this field at all. If you believe in that number. Justin, do you look at time form rating before we go on to the next race? And how do you evaluate that versus Equibase or Brisnet or other numbers you might look at?
Yeah, I do look at the time form ratings. I know it's not an exact science, but it gives me an idea. I'm in the ballpark then, and I understand kind of where this horse fits. So I will look at that. And I think the most interesting and advantageous thing about looking at time form US is that there's a write-up of all these European horses, in the running lines in the time form US PPs, and they're pretty sharp. And so, sometimes you'll get a clue as to who this horse ran against, if they want more ground, if they want less ground, if they didn't like the ground. And so I think I would advise people to read those comments. It's almost a paragraph worth of comments on each of the Euros and each of the races. I think that's a very important thing to take a look at before you make your final decisions.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of turf sprints and 2-year-olds. It's just not a race. I'm playing the BC, Justin. I've talked about on the show several times.
Yeah.
My plan, honestly, is to punt on this race. There are 3 mandatories that you have to bet. Out of the 5 races, there are 3 mandatories you have to bet on Friday. This is a race I'm punting on. Maybe I'll do a little bit a side bet with Dramatized, throw her underneath in exactas or tries or something. But Pete and Paul, is this the kind of race you have a betting interest in, or is this more of a watch for you guys? Pete?
I mean, I think it's a good betting race because I don't think you're going to get a low favorite. I think the favorite's going to be a nice price, and there's some really good, we've talked about a few of them. There's some really good long shot opportunities. So in a race like that, it's a good betting race if you do have a decent opinion. I don't want to just throw something at the wall just because it's a good betting race. But I think if you like something, and I like a couple of the horses, even getting Love Reigns, if you like that horse at 4 is a nice play. When after the race, you'll be like, when that horse just runs away from him, you'll be like, wow, I can't believe I got that horse that paid $10 after the fact. I want to just mention one thing, Howard, because there's a few comments about Tyler's Tribe. None of us have Tyler's Tribe, but on paper, that horse looks, you see all the ones and you see the lengths won by. So people are going to like that. I assume we're all against because of the turf move. But I wanted to just throw that out there because I did see a bunch of comments talking about him.
I'll bring him up out of it. It's a great story, Tyler's Tribe. We've talked about it in the show. For those people that don't know, we should mention this, guys. Tyler's Tribe is named after the grandson of one of the owners who fortunately is healthy now, but he had the grandson, the boy had leukemia, and Tyler's Tribe is sort of the support group that surrounds the young man named Tyler to get through his illness. He just left the hospital, I think, last week. It's an unbelievable story. I have no idea if this horse can run on turf. Although, he is by Sharp Azteca, who is by Freud. So in theory, he could. I have no interest in betting this horse at all. Paul, last thing, we got to move on. Is this a race you're going to bet on? I know you're a serial horizontal player. This does start the pick 6, Paul. Excuse me. This starts the pick 5, Paul. So obviously, I'm playing the pick 5, but vertically, any interest here?
Yeah, well, I think because of Tyler's Tribe, and I agree with you, it's a great story, but I think the horse is going to be overbet because of the story. I really don't want any part of Speedboat Beach, who I think is going to take money. I know, he did win on turf, but and he is fast, but that's not a great post. There's really not much turf on the dam side. I know Byron does okay with turfers, but for those two reasons, I think there will be some value. I agree with Pete. I kind of like the 2 a little bit, and if she is in that 7-2, 4-1 range, I do think it's a good betting race. And of course, Christine is one of our most astute listeners because she agrees with me. Viewers, rather.
She always agrees with you, Paul. That doesn't count. That's
hey, look, I said she's one of our most astute viewers.
Sorry, guys. We're back. Don't leave us.
You're on twice now, Howard. We don't need to see you.
We were here, Howard. We never left. You did. Now we see you twice, which is way more than more times than anybody needs to see.
There you go.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Folks, we've been doing this is the 201st show, everyone. Paul and Pete, I know you haven't been with me for 201 shows, but confirm that's the first time that's ever happened. I don't know what just happened.
And hopefully the last if it's going to be you.
Listen, there are so many people watching the show. The internet is exploding. So sorry, everyone at home. I have no idea what happened. I did not do anything, guys. We just had internet issues. That's a signal that we need to go on the next race. I think that's what that means, guys. So let's go on. I have no idea what just happened. All right, let's go on to the next race. Hopefully that's our only follow-up there. Although now I'm on the right side of the screen, Pete, which is a little bit weird, but that's okay. No problem there. Who cares? Race 7. Let's bring it up right now, guys. And let me go ahead and switch the banners. Hopefully that won't happen again. If there is an internet issue again, guys, we have no storms. By the way, it was 70 and sunny here. Mother Nature, shout out to Mother Nature because you are rocking it right now, and the weather at Keeneland is going to be unbelievable. So shout out to Mother Nature. All right, guys. There's our picks on the bottom of the screen. Let's bring it up. Race 7. Here we go. You know what? Now I've got to bring this up. Sorry, guys. We almost never have these issues. Okay, here we go. Nope.
Wow, Howard, me and you have the exact same 3. That never happens.
Yeah, how about that, Pete? How about that?
That
Great minds think alike. All right.
Yeah. There's 3 tosses.
The Net Jets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Of course, it's grade 1. $2 million. These are for the girls. 2-year-olds on the dirt. They're going 1 mile and a 16th. Here's the field right here. Another big field. As you can see, I scroll all the way down. Oh, poor Raging Sea. Oh, boy. We'll talk about her. The favorite here is the number 10, Chocolate Gelato, 7-2, Pletcher and Irad. Now, before we talk about your top pick, Justin, I think it's really important to talk about what everyone sees on the screen right now. This is the map for Keeneland. This is the track, construction, configuration, etc. You can see on the screen, I'm going to leave this on for a second, guys, so people can take a look at this, because I think this is an important, I'll make it a little bit bigger, too. Here we go. I'm going to make it a little bigger. I think it's important for people to see, okay? So the Juvenile Fillies and the Juvenile, it starts right here, but it also ends there, Justin, as we all know. So this is a first-line finish. It basically ends in the middle of the stretch. It's a very short stretch, which I know a lot of people are not, fans of. The run of the first turn is not short, but it's definitely not, long. And the home stretch is very short. So I just wanted to go ahead and bring that up. Justin, you are going to go. You don't care about the post here. You are going to go with Raging Sea for Pletcher.
I got a gut punch when the the posts were drawn because I really like Raging Sea. I think this is a quintessential Chad Brown pointing for a spot. We've seen him do it so many times, specifically with dirt horses, because his turf horses he just lays off however long he needs to, and they're ready to roll when they get back first out. His dirt horses, he races them a little more into shape, and this horse won on debut at Saratoga, and then they gave him some time to mature with this spot in mind the whole time. They brought him back at Keeneland. I can basically guarantee you that he wasn't 100% cranked up in that race.
She's Chad, by the way. I screwed up, guys. It's not Pletcher. It's Chad Brown. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. And I want the horses out of the Alcibiades because I think that was the strongest prep.
Well, let's talk about the stretch, Justin, because this is important to watch. We're just going to go right to the stretch. Raging Sea broke from the 2, broke very well. Go ahead, take it from here. Here's Raging Sea right here.
Yeah, so he's on the inside, and he gets a little leg weary, and
drinking game. Hold on. We got to stop right now. Hold on a second. Now, Justin, we hold on a second. I don't want to interrupt people tonight, but Justin, we've had 2 sort of new drinking games on the show. One is one of our wonderful young co-hosts, Kyle Roscoe, says 100% because he says it like 5 times. Like a lot of younger people, they repeat the same words. The other, and I think Paul's is the serial one here. If you say the wrong sex or gender of the horse, you have to have a beverage. So everyone at home, if you got a beverage, drink up. Justin, Raging Sea is a she, not a he. All right, Justin, we got that. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
That gets me sometimes. And so she got leg weary in the stretch, started drifting around, and that just points to the fact that she wasn't cranked up. So before I knew she was going to draw the 14, I really like this horse. I think she's set for a big move forward. I'm still going with her, even though she's breaking from the 14 hole. I know it's not ideal, but I want horses that are tactical. If they're breaking from the 14 hole, I want a horse that can put themselves in some kind of position. I trust Pratt to work out a spot somewhere. I don't know what kind of trip she's going to get, but I know she's going to fire her best shot. I know she's going to take a big move forward, and she's the right price at 8-1. So I'm sticking with her, although the 14 hole is not ideal.
Justin, we all are very much interested in what could be the post-time favorite. I think it'll probably be Chocolate Gelato. The number 7, Chop Chop, who we just showed the replay, was the one that was closing best out of that race.
Yeah.
She did get a good trip, but the pace did not fall apart because his Wonder Wheel wired, say that 10 times fast, Wonder Wheel wired the field. So you can't say the race collapsed. She was by far closing the best. This is a horse by City of Light out of a Giants Causeway mare who ran first time on dirt. I see no reason why this Cox trainee cannot run a big race if she just gets the right trip.
Yeah, and I think she can be a little bit closer. She was off slow, and I had her about a length slow. And then there's an interesting tidbit in her running line, and it's not mentioned in the comment section in the PPs. At about the half-mile pole, she had to steady a little bit. She ran up on heels and had to steady, and that cost her a little momentum. So
let's see if I can find that, because I obviously won the race. Now she's in the red right here, right?
She's the 2 horse.
Did you see that right there? It already happened, right?
It happened slightly before that, and it's a little bit hard to see. It's right about there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can see her back pedal a little bit. When you watch the head on, it's a little more pronounced, but it definitely slowed her momentum slightly. And so that, coupled with the fact that I think she can be a little bit closer if she doesn't break so slowly. Obviously you don't love a closer at the 1.16 usually at Keeneland. It usually favors speed, but with the speed that's signed on and her trouble and the fact that she can be closer, and Rosario is going to probably put her in a spot where she can have a chance to win, turning for home. I see no reason not to include her as an A on tickets.
I also want to mention this horse right here. This is Jazeera, I don't know how to pronounce it, who is going to be running in the turf race. So that we're going to talk about. But she ran well also. Let's go to Pete here next. Actually, Justin, you want to say quickly about the 9?
Yeah, I think she's too big of a price. I think.
Hey Justin, look at that! You and Nick with the same triple there. You guys are in lockstep.
Nick, great minds think alike, man. I just think Grand Love is too big of a price. She was a $1.06 favorite in that race at Churchill. Her first race, she was green as grass when she won, and it was not pretty, but she was much more professional in that second race. She found herself on the lead, first time 2 turns. I trust Asmussen. She's a gun runner. I think, at anywhere near 20-1, she's got to be used. She's too big of a price, and she may be on the lead.
Yeah, I've got her as a B. I mean, my ABC ticket is crazy. I've got like 8 Bs in this race, and she's one of them. Just because it's a gun runner. What if she somehow? I didn't like her last race, but I don't know if she gets loose. Crazier things. This is just a crazy race. Pete, you and I are absolutely lockstep in this race, which is crazy. We have the same 3. My feeling with Atomically here, Pete, I've heard a bit of a buzz. I think, unfortunately, she's going to be a bit of an underlane, more like 6-1 at post time. I hope I'm wrong, but I do like this horse.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, if it depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking for a win bet, maybe you're a little disappointed. But if I'm looking for sort of the top line of a horizontal play, then I like this horse at 6. I like this horse at 12. I mean, I saw a note in the comments about, it's only running against, Florida breds and all that. But I just think this one's been really impressive. I like the sweeping move in that last race. I just like the way she sort of just ran by a field like you're supposed to when you're the best horse in the race and you're a horse that's got Breeders' Cup aspirations. And then the move to Pletcher and, picking up Saez with Pletcher, it was a private purchase specifically pointing, I think, to this race. So everything there just leaves me to say, what if this horse is just really, really good? I'd like to catch it at a price now before we figure it out, maybe.
Starlight Racing's the ownership now. Pete, what I really liked about, not only did I like the finish, we're just going to watch the first turn and the finish of Atomically. She's 5 wide, like legit 5 wide. When you're 5 wide in the first turn of Gulfstream, I don't care if you're facing 20 claimers, Florida breds, or grade 1 horses. That is not a good situation at all. And it didn't really seem to bother her. She's the 9. You're going to see she breaks very well. But she's not like a runaway speed type. And the first 2 starts, Pete, she was on the lead. I mean, look, she's already, this is, 6 wide right there. She does like tuck in a little, but really not that much. And then I'm just going to show it through the turn, Pete, if you don't mind. No. She's out in no man's land right here. You've got to be really good. And they're not walking. And this is a pretty legitimate pace.
I mean, it's a $400,000 race too. So they're not like bum. Yep. They're not like bum Florida breds. So.
And this 3, it's hard to tell this, but the 3 is like making her go even wider. I'm sure the head-on has her even wider. And this is 23-2 for 2-year-olds going 2 turns. And you see she's already moving up. We'll take it to the final turn here, Pete. You see she's all the way out here, guys. She's pretty wide. And then we'll take it to the final turn. Pete, I'll let you take it home here.
I mean, you could just see the move. That's a move when you know you have horse under you and you just make that move and say, you know what, I'm not going to fool around. I'm just going to clear this field and then bury them. And you sort of like that, especially if you're looking at a horse that's running against maybe what we think are lesser horses than anybody else has faced in this field. You like to see sort of that dominance. And I like that. And I like the fact that she had gas in the tank and, was wide most of the way. So there'd probably be a little bit more in the tank if she gets a little cleaner, maybe less wide trip in this one.
She's finishing. She's finishing, guys. Yeah. That's a good finish, Pete.
And Pletcher, it's not in the hands of some novice trainer. It moved into the hands of Pletcher. So again, I'd rather take the shot with a horse like this in another field, which I just think is pretty wide open. I was with Justin, and I know you were too, Howard, where we both like the 14 going into the race prior to the post positions. So I still like the 14. It would still be on my top line. But once that happened, I sort of started fishing for, hey, is there anyone else I sort of like on that A level?
Justin, looked like you were chomping on the bit to say something. I'll let you say something in just a second here. Someone mentioned, this is a great comment from Roshan. Absolutely reminds me of Awesome Feather. I think that's a great comparison. Florida bred, I believe, won the juvenile, I believe. Great comparison. And Justin, the matter of the fact is, I'm not a huge fan of the races, the preps in New York or out west, or really, or at Keeneland necessarily. So I mean, I liked Raging Sea. I was all prepared, Justin, all prepared to put a nice healthy bet on Raging Sea in the BCBC until 24 hours ago. She can win. Any thoughts on atomically? You look like you wanted to say something, Justin.
I agree with everything you guys say about atomically. She can definitely win, and at 12-1, she's a must use. I was curious on all of your thoughts on. I guess you just alluded to it, Howard. That the 3 and Tell Me No Lies. Are we just thinking that the California Fillies are just not that good, and then Chocolate Gelato, the favorite's not getting any love? Are we also thinking that she's just not she's not a 2-turn horse by practical joke?
Maybe we're all just allergic to chocolate, Justin.
Paul, not the way I've been eating it the last 2 days.
Good point. Paul, why don't we give you a chance to talk here? Obviously, before you talk about we already got the 7. Before you talk about the 5 who you have in second, which is Wonder Wheel, who's coming off a win. Why don't we talk about Chocolate Gelato a little bit, and then also the California Filly? Paul, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm against Chocolate Gelato. I don't think she's as fast as it looks on paper. I get the feeling she might be a little more of a grinder. Justin just mentioned the possible distance limitations, and I know she's only adding the 16th, but that could make the difference in a race like this. This is one of the races that Uncle Howard assigned me to do the deep dive on, which I wrote up today. I haven't sent it to you yet, Howard. And my theory in summarizing or analyzing this race is I think it's going to be pretty quick. I did use Wonder Wheel second, but she had everything her own way in that race. The horses that were 1, 2, 4 after a half mile finished 1, 3, 4. Although Cassie has been very high on this horse since even before she ran. He was talking about this horse. So, but back to Chocolate Gelato, especially with the price that she's going to be right around the favorite. It's Irad and Todd, so she's going to get bet. I am against her. My theory in the race is I think the race is going to be won from behind, and perhaps considerably behind, albeit with the short stretch and the way that the Keeneland track surface really played this meet that just got over. You did want to be forward on dirt, but I think the closer that I like the best with the best position is the 7, and Justin touched on a few of the points that I would make. She was closing into that slow pace last time, 47 for a half mile last time, and she was doing a lot of running late, and she was by 2 strides after the wire. She was by Wonder Wheel, so that's why I landed on the 7. I do think, though, I'm not positive Wonder Wheel has to be on the lead to be effective, and I don't think in this race she will be on the lead. I do think she could still make the board, although I didn't put her on top.
Okay, I mean, she gets a great post. This is almost an all button, guys. To me, this is, this is some crazy shit that could happen in this race. I just, who do any of us really know what's going to happen in this race? I mean, no. This is a really tough race. Let's go on to the next race, guys. Race 8. I'm going to switch the banners here. And then there's our picks. A lot of double-digit numbers on the screen here as everyone. Our co-hosts are anxiously waiting for that banner to come across. Who do these guys have? Race 8. Let me go ahead to the screen here. There we go. Race 8. This is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Someone already wanted to know, what are we doing with this race, guys? So let's talk about it. It's another $1 million race. Of course, it's on the grass. It's 1 mile. This is a short, guys. Short run to the first turn. I think posts matter a lot in these 1 mile turf races. You can see the field right here. It's another big field as I keep scrolling down. There are some also eligibles. I doubt they'll get in. The morning line favorite here is a very talented horse from Europe, the number 10, Meditate, who I believe is the favorite out in, is she still the favorite right now? Pete, do you have those numbers in Europe right now? I'll let you get a chance to look at it, but I know she's been taking a lot of money.
Yeah, 3-1 with and second choice is 7-1 Delight, so a pretty big spread too.
All right, Justin, you get to go first. Justin is going with a horse that I do not have in my top 3, but I will say I'm absolutely fascinated with this horse. And if she got a better post, Justin, I really would have liked this horse. The number 12, Midnight Mile. Justin, what do you like about this Euro?
Yeah, she had a really interesting trip in her most recent. She was cut off.
Yep.
Not once, but twice inside the 2 furlong pole. The first time she got cut off, she got stopped. She shifted left, tried to squeeze through between horses, got cut off again. And then the key part of this is that when she finally found a hole, she accelerated through it, and she was versus the flow of that race, and she had a big gallop out. I think that, I don't love no nay nevers going 2 turns, but if you have a Galileo influence on the bottom, I think that combination of speed and stamina is very effective going a mile. I don't love the post, but and I don't know the exact stat on this, guys, but I know that there were the last couple Breeders' Cups that were held at Keeneland. I know that horses in the outside post did have some considerable success. And I'll see if I can look that up while you guys are talking. But this horse, at 10-1, and I think you may get every bit of 10-1. I think has enough tactical speed to work out a trip. And I don't mind if the horse is 2-3 wide, because in a big field like this, so many horses get stopped, get into trouble. And if the horse is good enough and is in the clear, like I think this horse is, third start, I think can show a ton of improvement. And I love the acceleration, the turn of foot in that last start. So she's my top pick at 12-1.
Wow. So Justin,
at 10-1. Yeah.
Let me put us all on screen here. We're not going to show a lot of Euro replays. We did a lot of that for our show 197, and we could go on forever on this show tonight. So if you want to, we talked about this horse a lot. Justin, I like this horse more than Davy Lane, our European expert. I think he was concerned maybe that she maybe didn't class up. I mean, she was coming out of a sort of a weaker grade 3, but watch that replay. Justin's absolutely right. She studied twice, and then not only did she study that second time, Justin, but she sort of like shuffled back. It was not only a steady, like lost her momentum. I'm thinking she's going to win this race, and she exploded and galloped out late. This could be a nice horse. Again, the post is interesting. Let me address the issue with the turf, Justin. And I feel pretty comfortable in talking about this. 2 years ago, the turf was not firm. When Cuban's turf gets wet or a little softer, you do not want to bet on the inside. It's similar to Churchill in that way, where it's sand-based turf course, but it does still drain to the inside. With the dry weather this week, it's not going to be firm by any means. I don't know if what you just suggested is going to come into play this weekend. It's a guess on my part. The inside is the fresh part of the turf course, but it's going to be the dry, fresh part of the turf course, Justin. And I don't think the outside posts are going to matter or be much better this weekend. It's a guess of mine, but I watch a lot of Keeneland, and that's my thought there. You're going to number 13. I think it's just who knows? No one knows how to pronounce this damn horse's name. I've heard a lot of buzz on this horse, Justin. A lot of people I respect like this 13. Again, post is an issue. She ran well. She ran well in the Alcibiades. But really, most importantly, Justin, she ran very well against Pink Hugh first time out, who could be an absolute monster, who got injured. And then second time ran off the screen. I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but the 13, if she can get position, why can't she win, Justin?
Yeah, no, she absolutely can. That's the first race. You're exactly right, Howard. She finished second to Pink Hugh. And then the second race, she was in that no man's land position, tracking a fast pace. She was like second behind by, 2 or 3. And then she was 2 or 3 in front of the third place horse. That's a tough spot to be for a horse and a jockey. She handled that very easily. I think from the 13 post, she might be on the lead. And if she's not on the lead, I think she's going to be sitting second because, there are a couple horses like the 4 Free Look, the 5 Pleasant Passage, the 9 Delight, who have all been on the lead or close to the lead, but they're by no means speed horses. This horse is fast. And so I would not be surprised if this horse cleared or got a really nice spot tracking from second. And if this horse can track from second on a pace that's moderate or slow, this horse can really finish. And so I think there's a lot to like about the 13 Segura.
Yeah. I've got the 12 as an A, by the way, Midnight Mile, Justin. And right now I've got Kajira as a B, but I might upgrade her. I like everything you said there. Let's go to Paul. Paul's been anxiously waiting. Let's get Paul in here. Paul, you got
that
the
anxious. Not really that anxious. No.
Okay. So, Paul, I don't know what to do with this horse. I'm just going to flat out say I don't know what to do with this horse. I have Free Look as an A because I have that much respect for Chad and Flavian. But the problem is, as you know, Paul, she's going to take probably more money than she deserves. And she didn't have an excuse last time. That being said, she's really bred well. It's Flavian and Chad, and she gets a great post, and it's Klarovich.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what you think of the preps. We talked about this a little bit last night. And, the Miss Grillo is either going to turn out to be a key prep for this race or a non-key prep because you have the top 3 finishes right next to each other.
You can talk it through, Paul. Here it is right here.
And
Passage on the lead, Free Look second.
And that was my other A here, Pleasant Passage. So apparently I think that Miss Grillo was a key prep, and if I'm wrong, I'll blow up in this race and move on to the next. Although all the horses you guys just talked of are all in my C team, so I might have to go back to the classroom and upgrade them to Bs. But no notable excuse there. Had every opportunity to go by, but. I think Pleasant Passage is okay. We talked about this last week when the pre-entries came out. When a Shug McGahee horse wins first time out, you got to think the horse is pretty good because he really cranks them first time. And, hence the 15-1. And no, I didn't have the horse. And yes, I feel stupid. But, and then right into the stakes after that. So, I'm going to bet that was a key prep. This is a race that the U.S. has dominated 12 out of 14, which is you don't really see in that type of disparity in turf races in the Breeders' Cup. But this particular one has been dominated by the U.S. and Chad Brown has won 4 of the last 8. So I think these 2 horses are pretty good. They're going to be my 2 A's. And if the Miss Grillo turns out to be a dud, then I'll have to play the late double.
And Paul's got Delight in second, who won nicely last time, the Jessamine, and then G. Laurie, who's a horse that I want to talk about.
Yeah, Delight. Howard, I'm glad you mentioned Delight. She ran well last time, although maybe just not fast enough. She a 74 buyer, a very slow race. 24. I had her. I really liked her in that race. I like Jonathan Thomas a lot. Thank you, Catholic boy. But 24-1, 49-3, 114-3. That was really, she had everything her own way. However, I do think she's pretty good. And while I didn't have her in my top 3, she will be a solid B in my horizontals.
Hey, Paul, just to let you know, I know Paul's got a new microphone. Everyone, he's sort of testing it out a little bit. Just so you know, Paul, when you look down to the left away from the monitor, the sound definitely gets a little bit worse. So,
okay.
It just like right now, it's fine. The best you can, maybe bring your paper like right underneath you instead of off to the left. Because
how's that?
That's perfect. I just want to make you aware the sound is quite different when you look down to the left. Pete. I should have let you talk about the 13 also. You love this horse, Pete. I know you've talked about this horse for quite a while that I've heard you. Did you want to add anything? And then also let's talk about the 5, who's my top choice, your second choice, Justin's third choice?
No, I'll just say the 13, just so it accentuated. The 13's my best bet of the day. I mean, aside from maybe Cave Rock, who's everybody's. This is my favorite horse of the day. I love her. I love the spot. I don't care about the post, really. I think she works out a great trip, sort of like Justin said. So I love this horse. So I'm all in on this one. But I think Justin sort of hit all the right points. So I don't need to belabor those anymore.
Real quick, my top choice is Pleasant Passage. We saw the replay. Guys, her first race really is why I like Pleasant Passage. And if you need some convincing, everyone, I just want to show the stretch run of her first race, not the second race, because we just saw the second race. She wired the field, and I had her that day. Watch the 4 here in this first race in the stretch. And let's see if I timed it out right. Okay, let me go a little bit forward. She's right here on the inside getting a very good trip. Okay. But what I like is she's waiting patiently in behind horses. And it's not often. This is the first time you see she's steadied right there, by the way. And she comes up the inside, guys, which is not easy to do for a first-time 2-year-old. And she exploded here. You see she's on the inside in the red cap there. And right here, I want to freeze it right here. It looked like the one who was right behind her was going to go right by. But once Pleasant Passage saw the one, you see this right here. You're like, the race is over, right, guys? The one's going to win right here, who just split. No, what Pleasant Passage sees this horse and fights back along the inside. For her first time started to do that and to win. You see right there, fights all the way, gallops out big. That's what convinced me. And I'm going to watch the gallop out here real quick. You see that right here. Guys, that's what convinced me, and that's why I liked her the next time. Obviously, I got a great situation in her second start. This is a very talented horse. Very talented.
She showed the fight again in the second one. That was the one note I had was this one will fight you. So if she gets into a tussle down the lane, she's hard to pass. So if it comes down to that, I'll put my money on her, and you're getting a price as well.
IRAD working bullets, guys. This is going to be. I might upgrade this horse to one of my better plays of the day. I know it's a 2-year-old turf. Last thing, we got to move on. G. Loria. I know some people are very interested in this horse. She got a brutal trip last time. I think we all talked about this horse, Paul, Pete, and myself, when we talked about the Natalma. Watch that replay. She did not get a great trip. I think she's got some talent. I don't know how talent, but she's got Buick. Graham Motion knows how to win this race. He did it with Sharing not too many years ago. This horse is interesting to me. There are a lot of, Justin, this race is, I mean, shocker, another very tough race, right?
Yeah. The only thing I will say about G. Laurie is that I think the 12-1 morning line is a farce. I mean, I far be it from me to cast aspersions on anybody who's trying to do a morning line, because it is impossible and it is thankless. I'm just saying that I think this horse has been a buzz horse. I think this horse will be a buzz horse. And I mean, she got pounded she got pounded in that second start. I think she was 8-1, 10-1, 12-1 morning line in that second in the Natalma. And then the last thing I'll add on her is that she did have a bunch of trouble, and like obvious trouble really gets bet these days. And also when she was clear, I didn't love the way I thought she should finish better than she did once she got clear. So all that being said, I do have her as a B. I think she does have a chance, but I would be a little bit careful based on the buzz and the fact that she's going to get played maybe below what her value says she should be.
Justin, I agree with you 90%. My only slight pushback on what you said is after their trouble, she came up the inside, and it didn't look like she wanted to be on the inside. It was really like reaching out the way she might have if she's on the outside. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think the outside post might help her.
Yep.
She's a 2-year-old. I take your point. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying if she galloped out that way on the outside, I would have been more concerned. Once they're bothered and they're on the rail, it's like, I take that. Do you agree with that at all?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I do. Some, especially fillies, I think young fillies don't always love being inside. Yeah. And to your point about the 5, that was so impressive about what she did, counter to what G. Laurie did. So that's a fair point.
Paul, did you want to say something?
Just one thing, Pete. There is I have the 13 a little bit myself, and I pay too much attention to jockeys. And by the way, the 13 was the horse that was interfered with in the race,
right,
where
yep,
the other horse
Raging
got
Sea.
taken down.
Right.
Raging
Yep.
Sea
Right.
got taken down from
Yep.
third to fourth. But I got to tell you, the recently concluded Keeneland meet, Leparoux was in an epic slump. I mean, epic, and not only by numbers, 2 for 38, but with just some visually, really, I would say head scratches, but they were full body scratches type rides. Again, that's over. It's a new day. He did ride this horse twice well at Saratoga, but for whatever that's worth, he is going to have a big change in fortune between last weekend and this weekend.
Don't worry, Paul. She's going to carry him to the line. He's not even have to do anything.
She's going to have to.
He's just going to shake the reins a little bit, and then she's just going to go right by. It doesn't matter.
All right, guys. Let's talk about, I guess you can argue, the biggest race of the day. I mean, it's the next race is the Juvenile. Whoever wins this is the preemptive favorite for the Kentucky Derby next year. At least that's how it's going to be perceived. I don't buy any of that, but that's okay. That's how a lot of the public's can perceive it. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. I'll go ahead and bring up the Equibase entries. Race 9, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, $2 million, of course, for the boys. 1 mile 16th on the dirt. We already showed it's that a bit unusual configuration with the short run into the first turn and the final turn. Here's the field. There's a horse that sticks out like a sore thumb. We all have the same horse on top. So listen, if you don't want to be chalk, that's fine. This number 3, Cave Rock, Justin, could be absolutely anything. Baffert, Juan Hernandez, 4-5 as I scroll down. Baffert does have another horse, National Treasure, who I know one person on the screen is very, very, very interested in. I'll let him talk about this race after you talk, Justin. You're not messing around. You're just going with the chalk here.
I am. The draw was huge because Hurricane J draws inside of Cave Rock. And if Cave Rock would have drawn inside of Hurricane J, that might have been more of an issue. However, Cave Rock is going to need to prove that he can rate, because Hurricane J may only be able to keep up with him for a half mile, but he is going to be gunned to the lead from the one post. And Cave Rock is going to have to either go really fast to get ahead of him or prove that he can sit and stalk. And I think that he can, but it may make things a little bit interesting. So
Justin,
the more
did you
I've
listen
been
to our show last night? I swear. Did you listen to our show last night? I swear
I did not.
said exactly. I said Hurricane J is probably going to finish last, but he also could go 45 to the half. And people are going to look around saying, what is this 50-1 knucklehead bothering Cave Rock? So I didn't want to steal your thunder there, but I just want to emphasize that I personally completely agree that Hurricane J, although might finish last, might be a reason why Cave Rock loses by like an inch.
He might be the fly in the ointment. And so, the more I'm thinking about this, let's talk about National Treasure for a second. Baffert takes the blinkers off in the American Pharoah. Baffert totally orchestrated that race, didn't he? I mean,
yes, he did.
He took the blinkers off so National Treasure would not press Cave Rock. He knew that National Treasure needed a run around 2 turns. If there's one thing I know about Baffert, it's that his horse is stretching out from 6 furlongs to a 2-turn race. First time will not fire their best effort. And so he knew this horse was not going to fire his best effort. He took the blinkers off, let Cave Rock have his turn. He orchestrated the other 2 horses. He had 4 horses in the race. He had them 3rd and 4th. Now he puts the blinkers back on because he knows National Treasure runs better with the blinkers on. His last work was huge. He galloped out huge. Velasquez is a great jockey. When he gets to sit outside and stalk, there's a scenario in which National Treasure can run by Cave Rock late. The more I'm thinking about this, guys, the more I want to upgrade National Treasure to an A.
Whoa.
and you know, and double up the A's. I just think there's a scenario, a realistic scenario that I can conjure up in which National Treasure can win the race.
Justin, this is why you were selected.
Justin has become the president of the Paul Halloran fan club.
This is why, Justin, you were selected out of thousands of other potential guest hosts for tonight's show.
Thousands.
Right, okay.
No, Paul, go ahead. I mean, you've been talking about this horse for a while.
Go ahead, Paul.
Paul's got this horse as an A too.
Yeah, I do. We talked about it last night, Justin, when we were talking mainly on post positions, but we did delve a little into, and, you know, I think the horse, I mentioned, you know, some would say, well, yeah, he's the far outside, but he's the 10, not the 12 or the 14, which is a little better. Johnny V, I mentioned that he's got the perfect guy on him. I agree with you about the, you know, the Baffert tactics, and of course in the Breeders' Cup, you know, it's every man for himself. All the owners know that. You know, every horse has to be given the best chance to win. I agree with Howard that Hurricane J is just going to send. And you know, again, is Cave Rock the likeliest winner? Yes, but I had said as early as last night, Justin, that I have had National Treasure as an A throughout, and he remains an A. And based on your thoughts, Justin, he's now an A plus.
Yeah, well, you know. I appreciate that, Paul. You know, the other thing to add is that Baffert wanted to run National Treasure in the Breeders' Futurity.
Yes.
He didn't have enough. He didn't have enough earnings. He only had that maiden win, and so he sent I can't remember the horse he sent over. He sent the B team over and kept him there. Took the blinkers off. Yada yada yada. What, you know, the whole thing we laid out. And so that's an important piece. He thinks a lot of this horse. Like somebody in the chat just mentioned that as well. He does really like this horse. He's a little coy about it, but this horse can run.
And I think the last race, people are going to get too caught up, Justin, in that last race. Well, how's he going to make up 5.5 lengths on Cave Rock? Well, we just told you how.
That's right.
Well, let's watch this race, Justin or Paul. I'll let you carry the day here. What makes you think that the 6 could beat the 5 Saturday? Is it just the 1 being sent, Justin?
Yeah, I think there was no intention on Baffert's part to win this race with National Treasure. You know, he's done this a lot of times over the course of his training career. You know, I mean, just taking the blinkers off was the tip. You know, he didn't want him on the lead. He's got more speed than he's shown. Hernandez was not aggressive out of the gate. Vasquez was not aggressive out of the gate. They handed it to Cave Rock, and Cave Rock is an immense talent. I mean, he runs like his sire Arrogate, and I think the longer the better. He looked great in his last work. I'm not saying for 1 minute that he is not a deserving favorite or that he is not the most likely winner, because he is. But there is a scenario in which and National Treasure can win. He's talented, and he's going to be 4, 5, 6 to 1.
Yeah, that last race. You talked about, we've seen this with Baffert. I mean, it was so ridiculous that National Treasure, you knew, was absolutely not going after Cave Rock in that last race. It was just so evident from the start. We have seen that before. Pete, let's talk about our second choice here, because they might be absolutely right. I don't know. I'm slightly concerned that they're going to be very right, and that the pace won't quite develop, and National Treasure might be that good. I'm a big fan of Blazing Sevens, Pete. I've talked about this horse a lot. I'm going to let you talk before I say anything. This is a 6 to 1 Flavian Pratt, Chad Brown horse coming off a win in the Champagne.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty impressive win. I mean, you had that horse. I mean, you could speak to this one just as well, because you had that horse and touted it on the show last time. My thought too was, and it depends what you're looking for. I mean, I think if the pace melts down, this horse can come on. You know, if it does heat up and everything goes crazy, then I think Blazing Sevens and Forte are two that could be coming off the pace, and I think this one could do that. You've seen that. You saw that kick. Pratt picked him up last time and just sort of ran a beautiful race. I mean, perfect spot, saved ground, made the move, didn't worry about getting sort of stuck on the rail, made the move when he's supposed to, like Pratt always does, got this horse open in open space. I mean, he got a little kicked maybe a couple paths out there, but then just opened him up and gave him a clear running lane. And if he gets that here, and if you're talking about Cave Rock maybe getting worn down for some reason by Hurricane J or some of the other horses, then I think this one could sort of clear on the outside. But just for the record, I had the second, third, fourth, and fifth picks all basically on the same line for me. So I put 2 of them here in my second and third spot. But to me, all 4 of them, depending on the trip that they get and depending upon what Cave Rock does, all 4 of them are kind of logical potential upsetters if Cave Rock goes to crap for some reason.
It was a nice gallop out. I don't have much to add, Pete. This horse is professional in every sense of the word. And he's not slow. Okay. I mean, and that last race, people say, well, it was the slop what happened the time before? He didn't run well in the slop. So he's by good magic. He's training well. Paul, I want to ask you a question before we move on to the next race. I'm going to go full screen. No one's listening to me for the BCBC anyway, so no one's going to repeat what I'm about to do. I'm willing to say this. What do you think about playing a try for me in the BCBC with Cave Rock and National Treasure over Cave Rock, National Treasure over Blazing Sevens, and really pounding that at different amounts with Cave Rock on top? What do you think of that play in this race?
I think you better be able to hit it with Blazing Sevens running second.
Well, I was going to put him second too, maybe.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe the 2 Bafferts by the 3 horses by the 2 horses. Like I don't see Cave Rock finishing third. I was going to go Cave Rock, National Treasure with those 3, with just National Treasure, Blazing Sevens. You know what I mean? And not putting National Treasure in third. Excuse me, not putting Cave Rock third because I don't think he's going to finish third. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it's possible. Except for the scenario that National Treasure runs by him like Justin and I think he can, and then Blazing Seven just nails them both on the wire. That was a pretty good effort by Blazing Sevens that you just showed. Now I don't know how great the field is. Verifying's in this race. Has good. Buyer wise, not bad. But, in the slop, down on the rail, had to swing them way wide, got a little bit of a bump, had to alter course a little bit. So I think that was a good race. And just one, I don't want to beat a dead horse, so to speak. But, that second quarter in that Del Mar Futurity, in the American Pharaoh, the race that we showed with Cave Rock and National Treasure, he went like 24 and 1. I mean, you want to talk about National Treasure making no effort, as Justin said, to win the race. He was just allowed to walk through that second quarter, and again, he could just be dominant and be done with it. But at 4 to 5, or maybe even 3 to 5, I'm willing to spend a few dollars to see how good he is.
Last thing, I'll throw this out to Pete or Justin. I'm against Forte. I don't know why. He got a really great trip last time in the Keeneland race. I'm not sure how good that Keeneland race is. He's going to be overbet. It's Irad and Todd. I mean, sure, he could finish in the money. I don't know. I think Blazing Sevens and National Treasure are a lot more interesting to me. Justin or Pete?
Yeah, well, I think Loggins was the one you wanted out of that race. Obviously,
yes.
He's not going to be running. But I think it's fair to also ask, how much did that race take out of him? They dueled the length of the stretch, and it was less than a month ago. And so, you have to have that in the back of your mind as well. Yeah, I'm going to use him defensively in some way, just because if the pace for some reason melts down, I think he's the only horse that has a chance to come running. Shouldn't say that, because Blazing Sevens, I agree with you, does have a chance to close in. And I'd prefer Blazing Sevens over Forte, but there's a probably an all A with Forte ticket that I'll have just in case something weird happens.
Okay.
Do you get the feeling, Justin, that Forte might be way behind in this race? Maybe even too much? Yeah.
Yeah. Fair, because I think second time routing, they tend to get further behind than coming sprint to route. I think Paul, that's an astute point. I think that he may be further behind even than he was in the last race, which would put him further behind the 8-ball.
And I think Blazing Sevens can be closer than you guys think too. I'm not saying he's going to be close, but he'll be mid-flight and read it. And he's got to go 2 turns. That's my only concern. I hate when horses have not gone 2 turns, but unless he's trained, by a master, he's by Good Magic, who went 2 turns fine, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Pete, final thoughts on Forte? We got to get to the last race.
No, I agree with everything on Forte. I will say, though, just we didn't mention him. I actually like Verifying. I think he's going to probably float up a little bit, too, because I think some of the other ones are probably taking a little more buzz. Yeah, a couple people mentioned in the comments. One thing I did like, and I thought Verifying made sort of a winning move, and Blazing Sevens just ran by him. And this may mean nothing. I'm not an expert on it by any means, but he only has like a 327 Tomlinson on the wet. So maybe he didn't even love the wet and didn't run to his potential. And if he does, and he still ran a really good race and he improved, he improved from a time form standpoint, improved a little bit from a buyer standpoint. And if he's good, which it looked like he might be, $775,000 purchase from Cox and Rosario, if he fires and likes the track more this time, then I think he could fire and just sit off. And if there is some funny business up front, he'll be right in that second wave with National Treasure.
Yeah. Guys, let's move on to race 10. This is the last race of the day. I personally don't like the fact that the Juvenile Turf is last. I don't know why they switched that. But anyway, Juvenile Turf, 2-year-olds, of course. This is for the boys. $1 million. Of course, that 1 mile configuration on the main track. Another very difficult race. As I scroll down to the bottom of the screen there, 14 horses. No one's on the AA list. The morning line favorite here is the number 4, Silver Knot, a talented horse from the Appleby yard for William Buick. Justin, you're going to go with a California horse, and this is not your normal California turf horse. This is a really nice horse. Packs a Wallop, the number 2 for Jeff Mullins and Mike Smith, 6-1 morning line.
Yeah, I'm usually on the bandwagon of California horses coming east to run in turf races. They're usually a toss for me. However, it's gotten so hyped that I think if you can find one, there's a whole bunch of extra value. Now, that being said, Nick Tamaro, who's as sharp as they come, I was expecting to see 12-1, and he's got this horse at 6-1, which tells me right there that there's a need to look closer. So I would say about his last race that he won very easily. I mean, he won even easier than the running line show, and he looked good doing it. He won with his ears pricked, and Mike Smith only showed him the stick once, maybe twice. It's a little hard to tell, but I mean, if you watch him coming home, his ears were forward. He had so much left in the tank. So here he is striking the front. He pulls the stick out, sort of flags it at him once, hands and heels, kind of flags it at him there a second time. And then he's just coasting. I mean, look at this horse stick his neck out. He's running through the wire. He never got to the bottom of him. And I think this horse is going to get a very good trip. I think, he's faster than Victoria Road, which means he'll probably find himself on the rail. He'll probably be stalking from third. And, I'm not a Mike Smith turf basher. I don't always love his turf rides. However, in a big spot, when I know the horse is going to get an inside trip, I'll take Mike Smith in a money race. And so I think this horse, I'm hoping he's 6-1 or higher. I was shocked at the morning line. I think he presents a very, very good chance if Silver Knot doesn't fire. I will concede that Silver Knot is the most likely winner. He's the classiest horse. He's got the best turn of foot. He's got a great post. He's got a great rider. He's got Charles Appleby, who's insane in the States. And so, he's the most likely winner. But I think this horse, is even better than his PP's lead on.
Wow. Well, Nick is going with the contrarian view. I know a lot of people feel that way, that a West Coast turf horse coming east with Mike Smith on turf. I mean, there are some negatives. Justin, I have to say, I have this horse as a B. I don't know. I agree with everything you're saying, but that field looked very bad to me. I'm sorry. No one was really running in behind. Like, that's as good as he can run, right? I mean, he was just sitting outside. It's sort of like a harness horse who's just sitting in the pocket, just angles out, just tips out, and just goes by. Like, everything went perfectly for Pax Wild in that race. I'm sure he could have run better, maybe 85, 86. I don't know, Justin. That last race was just so perfect, and it was just a bad field. Mike Smith, by the way, to your point, to give you some credit, can win with turf horses. Remember, he won with Althika in New York. Was it 2 summers ago, guys? And it was like 6-1 for Appleby. Mike Smith can still ride, but no, he's not. He's not a turf rider by any means. Justin, did you want to talk about the 6 before I go to the rest of my panel?
Yeah, I think this is the horse that loves Keeneland. If the pace heats up, he's going to he's got the right. They sort of played musical jockeys in this race. Rosario lands here. Wayne Catalano has a great record in the Breeders' Cup. I don't know stats off the top of my head, but I know his record is very good in the Breeders' Cup. And I think that this horse has an excellent turn of foot. And so if the pace heats up, he will come running. And, I feel pretty confident that he's going to finish 1, 2, or 3, even more so than either of the other two. I know that sounds a little weird, but I'm confident that this horse is going to run its race just because he likes Keeneland and he's got Rosario, and he managed to make that win look easy last time against. I don't know. It wasn't a great field, but it wasn't a bad field. Deer District ran, by the way, very well. He's the horse he won out of that race, besides, and the winner is. But I think this horse fits for lots of reasons, and so he would be my third choice. He'd be a B for me. The 2 and the 4 would be A's, and he would be a B.
Okay. He ran very well. This race completely fell apart, though. I just want to point that out. I'm not saying he can't win. I'm personally not a fan of this horse, only because of the pace just completely fell apart and he took advantage of it. But maybe he's better than I give him credit for. He's certainly bred to be very good by Oscar Performance out of a Scat Daddy mare. So there's clearly breeding there. Pete, let's go to you, because Pete, you've got a horse that none of us have in our top 3, and you've got this horse on top. So everyone better pay attention. And in case you're wondering if Pete Visco can pick a long shot on a turf race, Pete, before you talk about Webslinger, why don't you go ahead and throw everyone a bone and pat yourself on the back and talk about what happened this summer with the turf horse on the show.
Kiddo Dan, who I like.
Kiddo Dan, what were the odds?
41 to 1 or something.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
won it by a nose or like a hair or whisker. Yeah, that was I'll take that one every day of the week. You don't get many of those.
I just realized, Pete, you're not taking this horse for Jackson, are you?
Webslinger. No, you know what? You know what's funny? Until you said that, I didn't even
play, isn't it? Wait a minute, Paul.
I didn't even put that together.
This is BS. His son's a huge Spider-Man fan, Justin. He doesn't even like this horse. He just likes the name. Come on.
No,
Pete,
I swear to God, I didn't even realize Webslinger. I didn't even put it together. But yes, by the way, my wife, I'll forget tomorrow, she knows nothing. She watched a little bit of our thing last week, and she said Regal Glory tomorrow. That's her pick. So in case I forget, that was her.
Okay.
And because our dog is a half Rottweiler, half Beagle, so that's her expert analysis. So in case I forget that tomorrow, Jess, that one was for you. Yeah, no, this one, I like Paul mentioned earlier, this was one of the races that I was doing for our power picks, and I like every horse basically. So I was about 9 deep in my first go around, if not more. And this horse has a bunch of things that aren't great, like the come home fractions aren't as great as they should be, and it didn't beat much of anything in either race. But what I did like was 2 back. Which race is this? You're showing the Monmouth one, which this was pretty impressive. Just sort of a closing sweeping move But the 1-2 back, I'll talk about it quickly because you can just sort of watch this one as he sort of rolls by. But 2 back, that horse was checked, was super green, was all over the place, dropped to dead last in the lane basically, and then still came rolling late. Now, again, it wasn't chasing much, but it was at 5.5 furlongs and was still eating up ground. And I just think this one, I mean, it's bred to go a little longer. So, adding the extra 16th doesn't really bother me. The buyers and the time form of 101 in that race you just showed is right on par. It's only 1 point behind Silver Knot, who has the highest time form of 102 in the race. So it's right there. The figures are improving. Again, I think this one needs to move forward. But at 20-1 in a race where I'm about 6 deep on my A line, I like this one, and I'm putting it in and taking a shot to try and catch a monster and close this thing out.
I don't see anything wrong with this horse. I'll say one negative, and I could be way off base here. I liked Dakota Gold last year. If you guys remember, this is the horse that ended up being the favorite because the Modern Games debacle. He was coming off an impressive win at Monmouth. I guess just my point, Pete, is I don't know about the class, but
no, I agree.
I don't disagree with anything you said. This just has got like Dakota Gold kind of feel. But of course, this horse is going to be 25-1, and Dakota Gold ended up being 4-1. But before the Modern Games thing was like 6-1. So you're getting a bigger price.
Yeah, you're not. This one's not getting bet down. If 9 horses scratch, this one still won't be the favorite. I think so. I think we're okay there.
Pete, let's talk about the 8, and then I'm going to go to Paul and myself because Paul and I are thinking very similarly. Paul, I love your pick, by the way, in this race. Pete, Chad Brown, I'm very busy, was very good last time. And I got to show the replay because I like this 8 a lot. Okay? Yep. I know he looks slow on paper. There's no question about it. But it's Chad Brown. It's Flavian. And the last race, I know some people like Major Dude. Can we please watch this last race? If you like Major Dude, and I know some people do like Major Dude in this race, take a look at this race because I'm very busy is the 10. Major Dude is the 3. And I'm very busy. Got a perfectly fine trip. He's right here. But this was a dawdling, you see he's right here, was a dawdling pace. And this move that I'm very busy makes into a slow pace, to me, Pete, was very impressive. I'll let it roll. It's the Clairvetch on the outside.
Yeah, and I think this is another one who sort of made a winning move, and you're not really sure why didn't go by, aside from the fact, like you said, that the pace was slow. Major Dude is a good horse and was able to kick back away. But my thing would be if Chad has this one and it's sort of 2 things. One, if Chad sort of has this one geared up for this race and, third start, then this one will be really sharp for this one. And second, the Pilgrim was a weird one just because of the yielding turf. So you're not sure if one horse liked it a little bit more than the other. I think Major Dude did also. And this one, I mean, you watch this winning move. I mean, you get a little hung up on, not to coin the phrase, this horse hung a little bit and should have maybe went by. But again, it's his second race only. I like to see him get another one under him. Again, the yielding turf, you're not really sure. Had a little bit more of a wider trip. Major Dude had, his own way up front and just sort of had a beautiful trip following horses that he was just better then. So I think he had a much easier trip. Yeah, there you go.
Came home
30,
best
45. Yep.
We haven't shown a lot of pace, figures tonight, or not a lot of incremental splits, but he came home the fastest there. And look how far, back he was. So, I think he's interesting. Anything else before we get to
that horse was 75 cents in that race, so it's not like that was a horse that was a very well thought of horse. Sorry to interrupt you there, Howard, but I mean this horse has been pretty big favorite in the first 2 races too, which we always like to see.
All right, Paul, let's end our conversation and get to our pick 5s here. Victoria Road. Again, I'll put us on the screen. Everyone watch episode 187. If you want more reasons, if you agree with Paul and myself, watch episode 187 because 197. It's been a long week, guys. 197 with Davy Lane. This horse breaks well, Paul. We've talked about this. I'm not worried about the rail. We're not saying he's a speed horse, but he breaks well. He's professional. He's turning back. I don't mind the rail here. I mean, he's going to save ground to the first turn. He figures to get a good trip. He might be a decent price. What not to like about this horse, Paul?
Ryan Moore could get him beat.
Wow. Dang. Firing.
I know if the race were in upstate New York, it'd be almost a guarantee. But no, I like the horse. Davey was high on the horse. The horses, as Euros tend to, is at a very ambitious campaign. This is race number 8, which you have to like. You see the U.S. horses and few of them in start 3 or 4. But yeah, he should get a good trip. But I got to tell you, Justin just increased the cost of my tickets because I had packs of Wallop as like a B+++, and now he's going to have to be an A because I was just wasn't pulling the trigger to make him an A. And after listening to Justin, I will now have 3 A's in the race, and it's the Breeders' Cup. It's only money, but I do. This horse is bred well, Howard. Aiden O'Brien has won this race 4 times, so this is one of the races you do want Aiden O'Brien in. The race, he'll break, but he's certainly not going to be on or near the lead. And in this race, you typically want someone coming from behind. So, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think Silver Knot is beatable, but has to be an A. So, but my top pick was the one.
Silver Knot, real quick. I just want to bring this horse on screen, then we're going to move on to our pick 5s, guys. Davies against this horse. I've heard some very good Euro experts that are a bit against this horse. He's a bit one pace, guys. He might want longer, and Appleby has flat out said that his older horses are better. He has more confidence with them, with your Nation's Prides, with your Rebel Romances, with your with your Modern Games. He's more confident about the older horses than his 2-year-olds. We talked about that also, Justin, on our show. So I'm not saying Silver Knot can't win. The value is just not going to be good on this horse. And there's so many other interesting horses, right, Justin?
Yeah, no, I agree. And typically the Euros have dominated this Juvenile Turf. And so, if not Silver Knot, then probably, Victoria Road. And, I just wanted to make a quick point because I have a big trip note on Reckoning Force. And I don't know if he can win, but he can run in the number. He had a load of trouble, none of which is mentioned in the PPs besides that he was slow and squeezed at the start, which he lost 2 lengths. But at the 8th pole, he had to shift out like 6 paths. And then he got bumped by the filly by the horse to his outside. And he never was able to get into a top. So
he's the 3 right here.
He's the 3. Great move to cut the corner. All right, and so watch this. So Jock decides to swing out 6 paths. So he goes way out. So he's going sideways now, and all the other horses are going forward. And then he gets bumped sideways by that horse. He runs into the horses behind him. He still can't find room, never really gets going, finally gets a little bit of room and gallops out really big. I don't know if he's good enough to win. I think he can hit the board at a gigantic price. So I'll be using him somewhere.
I like that one, Justin. I have that one as a C because I thought that was a really deceptive bad trip, and that horse was coming. So again, it's tough on the win end, but I think for sure as an underneath at probably after a 7th by 5, those odds are probably going to shoot way up. Sorry to cut you off there. But.
No, you're exactly right. And it's not, the key is none of it's really mentioned in the running lines. And so there's baked in, there's baked in value there. And, Brendan Walsh can train a turf horse. So I'm going to play him underneath somehow, somewhere.
I don't want to, poo-poo or knock anyone with a 20-1 shot. I like that replay, Justin. I just want to point out, especially the more inexperienced people that are listening and watching, is the race was collapsing. So the horse that are coming from behind had a big advantage in that race. So yes, he had trouble, but he was sort of you would agree, Justin, that he was with the flow of the race in the stretch. It's not as if it was a slow pace and he was closing at a slow pace. So the fact that he was further back, gives horses an advantage going forward. He was just following horses that were in the flow, like a harness race, Justin. I just want to point that out. I agree with you. He's interesting underneath, but I guess that's the kind of replay that I'd be like, I don't know, I got to be a little bit careful with. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the pace did collapse. And so just a side note, I don't know where Deer District for Dale Romans is going to run next, but he was the horse that, he was second the entire race, and he held on for second. He ran gigantic. And so just a side note, put him in your stable mail for the next time he comes back, because I think he's super live wherever he shows up.
For all you Milwaukee Bucks fans out there. All right, guys.
Sorry, Howard, real quick, because we had the question earlier. And Justin, I know you like the time forms a little bit as well.
Yeah.
If you look at Reckoning Force, and this is more for just in general, if you look at his Buyers versus his time form likes this horse a lot more than Buyer does. You look, it's a 93 to a 66, so a 27, then a 29, then a 30. So time form kind of likes this horse. If you look at the time form ratings, they're a little bit closer than maybe the Buyers make it out to be. So Justin, I don't know if you like to look at the differences. I like to look at that to see if time form, because then it takes in a few different things into account. And this one was just really pronounced, because it's almost like every race time form just seems to like this horse a lot better.
Yeah, it's more of a performance rating, isn't it? Like, they'll upgrade and downgrade for with the pace, against the pace.
Yeah.
It's less of a hardcore, final time figure.
Final time figure. Yep. Just wanted to mention that, because that can come into play in other races as well, both ways.
Great point.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show with the pick five. Now, Paul, you Paul and Pete especially, Justin, give me a hard time for being cheap Uncle Howard and only allowing $50 pick fives. Guys, we got to bump it up. This is the Breeders' Cup. So I asked my my co-host and guest Justin here tonight to give me up to a $100 pick five. This is a very difficult sequence. Justin, we're going to start with you. We got to read this off, Justin, because there are people that are listening that can't see the screen like later on. So let me read.
Sure.
Read your pick five.
Sure. So in the sixth, I'm going to spread. I'm going to use the 2 Love Reigns, the 3 Private Creed, the 4 Dramatized, the 5 Mischief Magic, the 6 Persian Force, the 8 American Apple, who's a filly, but I loved her race. She won at 47-1, but she was good that day. And I'm going to use Speedboat Beach defensively. I mean, if I'm tiering him, he'd be a C. So that's the race that I find the most inscrutable. In the 7th, I'm going to use the 7 Chop Chop and the 14 Raging Sea, 2 deep there. In the 8th, I'm going to use the 5 Pleasant Passage, who I think might pose some value. I'm going to use the 10 Meditate, who I don't love, but I feel like I have to use the 11 G Lori, and then my top play, the 12 Midnight Mile, and the 13 Jagira. Somebody put the pronunciation in the chat.
I think
Kajira. Yeah, that's right. All right, okay. Kajira. So I'm going to spread there, and then on my ticket, I singled Cave Rock. You heard me talk. I would strongly consider adding National Treasure as an A. I know that doubles a ticket. I would probably go skinny other places. But, that's something I'm still toying with. I'm giving a serious consideration to National Treasure to have a chance. And then in the last, I'm going 2 Packs of Wallop and the 4 Silver Knot. And I think you guys have convinced me that I need to include Victoria Road on my ticket as well. And so I would encourage anybody that's listening to, include Victoria Road, just because the Euros have had such a great record in this race. And Aidan O'Brien, he was supposed to send over 1 or 2 others and didn't, and so that may say something about how he feels about Victoria Road. Anyway, $70 ticket. If you want, if you want to mix in a couple of those that I mentioned, it could be a little more, just cut it somewhere else.
Terrific. Pete, real quick. Actually, Justin, are you good for 5 more minutes, or do you got to?
Yeah. I'm good. Right. Actually, while Pete explains his, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, so I'll be right back.
Please do so. Yeah, I'm right to do that. All right. Pete's got 239 with 7, 8, 14, with 1, 5, 13, with 3, with 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10. Pete, they're big fields when your pick 5 has a lot of double-digit horse numbers
I mean,
in them.
yeah,
Tell
that
us
doesn't
about your
happen
ticket.
often. Yeah, so I sort of singled Cave Rock in the fourth leg, not to just start with that one because that one's the simplest. And again, I don't think he's like a dead lock, but on my A level ticket, I'll go with him, and then I'll probably back that up and try and get some prices underneath. The first leg, I actually sort of like the horses. I mean, I went with Love Rain, so I just really like and Private Creed, and then went with the long shot Sharp as attack for the speed advantage. Then in the Juvenile Fillies, which I think again is wide open, but I sort of like Chop Chop. I love Raging Sea aside from the post, and I like Atomically as we talk about. So I'll just stick with those three and then go a little deeper on a B and C leg. Third leg, Comanche County or Comanche Country. We didn't really talk about, but that was one that I like, and I definitely want to have that one on my ticket. But I really like Pleasant Passage, and Kajira is my top choice of the day. So obviously that one's there. Then Cave Rock, and then in the last race, I was all over the board. I liked everybody, so I wound up going 6 deep. The only one we didn't talk about was the 5 Battle in Normandy. Again, another 20-1 morning line shot that didn't look really good in that last race, but there were some things that I liked. I thought he had a little more trouble than it seemed. And for a 20-1 shot, again, I'm trying to close this one out with the bombs, have a couple 20-1 shots there, but I'm going way deep and have almost every horse on the ABC lines.
Justin, we had Jason BLOWOUT on the show a few weeks ago from West Point, who's a great guy. They're high on Battle of Normandy. They think he's got talent. He hasn't really put it together yet, but we were just talking about the 5 in the last race of the day there. Paul, let's go to you. Paul's got
there's just one thing, Howard. There was a set of PPs. I was using the ones before the entries were done, and when they announced the entries, they announced the 10 and 12 wrong. So the first leg should be 12, not 10. Can you fix that?
Can I fix that?
Can you fix it? Can you fix it correctly and quickly? I think he meant.
What do you think? I'm some kind of amateur? What the hell?
Correctly and quickly, he meant. That's what he was going for.
Paul's got.
Hey, no calculus is being taught this week, Pete. But damn it, he can fix my pick 5.
Paul's got 2, 5, 6, 12 with 5, 7 with 4, 5, 9, 10 with 3, 10. There you go, Justin. He is using National Treasure, at least in this ticket, equally with 1, 2, 4. Paul, what do you think's going on in my class? We're watching replays on the big screen. We're not watching. We're not doing math right now. Are you kidding?
There's a lot
priorities, of man. Priorities.
I once knew a special ed teacher who taught with my wife, who was the greatest guy in the world, but a real character. He legitimately brought his middle school special ed students to Wonderland Dog Track and sold it as he was teaching them numbers and statistics. Only he could pull it off.
Now you get fired. Anyway. By the way, for the record, in case anyone at Round Lake High School is listening in my administration, I am not doing that in my classes, and I've been there already. All right. Paul,
basically the first leg was a combination of my A's and B's, although I have Private Creed I do have as a B, but I think might be more of a board horse. So I went Love Reigns, Mischief Magic. I do have the Persian Force that we talked about, and I do have the Platinum Queen because I don't want to get beat by that horse. The second leg, I did go a little skinny. I went only with Chop Chop and Wonder Wheel, so I'm very much exposed there. The third leg, I think it's a spread race. I have Free Look, Pleasant Passage, your horse, Howard. Delight, who, as I said, if he's fast enough, I think could win. He may not be fast enough. And Meditate, whom we talked about. The Juvenile, we covered that. I just want to be able to hit this one without Cave Rock, and I want to be able to hit the Saturday one without Flightline in the event that should happen. And then in the last leg, I was going to go 2 deep, but I definitely went 3 deep because my new A, the newest member of my A team, Paxa Wallop, is included in my caveman ticket.
There you go, Justin. That makes Justin happy. All right, guys, we're going to close out with my pick 5. I had a difficult time in terms of how deep to spread and where if I was playing a $100 ticket. And guys, I got to max out 100 because I'm giving everyone 100. Here's my ticket. I'm going very deep early, and I'm going skinny late. I'm going 2, 4, 5, 6, 12 with 7, 8, 11, 14 with 4, 5, 10, 11, 12 with 3 with 1, 8. Guys, here's my feeling. I just want to survive and get to the last race. I'm going to use others other than Cave Rock. Of course, I'm playing a bigger pick 5 than this. And rumor has it we're playing a big pick 6 on Friday for a syndicate. So we're excited about that. So obviously I'm going more. I really believe in this Victoria Road. And I don't think the Juvenile you have to go very deep. I know Pete disagrees based on his ticket. I don't know, guys. I'm against Silver Knot. I'm against And the Winner Is. I think I'm very busy. The 8 is interesting. I'm concerned that there's not a lot of pace. In fact, Justin, I might switch that to 1-2. I'm not sure if I held my feet to the fire. I do like Pax and Wallach. I don't know. A California horse beating these horses, yeah. I just don't know. But I absolutely love Victoria Road for sure. And again, I think I'm very busy. Was really against the flow last time, and I am not going to get beat by Chad Brown in the last race of the day for a 5-digit score or whatever it might be. So there is my ticket. Guys, we've gone almost 2 hours. Justin, sorry to keep you on this long, but I know we love talking horse racing. As we finish the show, Justin, I'm going to let you close it out. Any final thoughts for Saturday? Any picks, for Friday? Why don't you throw us a pick for Saturday? Maybe a long shot and maybe a best bet that's not obvious. Do you have a horse on Saturday based on trips that you really love? And maybe a horse that you like around like 4-1-ish that might be a nice horse to win as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think in the Filly and Mare Turf, Rozier is going to run a really big race at 12-1. I think she's finally rounding back into form. I think that last race at Woodbine in the EP Taylor was large. She steadied pretty hard. I loved her workouts. In my opinion, she was outworking Regal Glory. And so I like Rozier in the 6th. And then I'll throw out a long shot that I think has a chance. I don't know if the horse can win, but I think maybe the horse can hit the board. And that's in the 8th race, the Breeders' Cup Mile, Cheryl Spite. She's 30-1. If you draw a line through the Churchill race, 4-back, the Monmouth Dirt race, and then she went too short going 7 furlongs at Woodbine. Her last race was better than it looked in the Woodbine Mile. She had a tough trip. Modern Games just blew that open. Now, listen, if Modern Games runs his race, yes, he's going to be a handful. But Cheryl Spite ran the best race of his life at Keeneland in April. Ran huge against the big speed flow. And Roger Atfield can point a horse to a race. I think this horse can run big at 30-1, picking Saya's back at the Wind Rider from Keeneland, by the way, back up on this mount. So that's the horse that I would take a look at a large price. Cheryl Spite, the number 2 in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Terrific. Justin, you've been awesome. We love having you back on again. And we were joking earlier about having thousands of people to choose from. We do have a lot of people to choose from.
It was hundreds. It was hundreds. It was only hundreds.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We have a lot of people to choose from, and we really appreciate you coming on because we know that you deep dive and you're a great personality. Wish you much success going forward with InTheMoneyMedia. We'll definitely have you back on again. For Pete Visco, Justin Christein, and Paul Howard from the Saratoga Special, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz. We've got one more big show tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to cover the Saturday races like a glove. Gather the family around. You do not want to miss that show, episode 202, covering Breeders' Cup Saturday. Good luck to everyone out there on Breeders' Cup Friday. Crush all those bets. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.